One quiet night in a Manhattan restaurant, a billionaire's dinner was interrupted when his 10-year-old son, wearing leg braces, asked a waitress to dance. What happened next didn't just silence the entire room, it changed all of their lives forever. Picture this, it's a Tuesday evening in Chicago, the kind of evening where the city lights reflect off the windows of skyscrapers, and inside one of those buildings, in the most exclusive restaurant you can imagine, something extraordinary is about to happen. This is a story of how 3 dance steps changed 3 lives forever. Riverside Restaurant isn't just expensive, it's the kind of place where silence costs extra, where conversations happen in whispers, where every fork touching a plate sounds like a symphony, and where people like you and me, well, we don't usually get invited. But there, at table 12, sits a 10-year-old boy named Mason Williams. And if you saw him, your heart would break just a little. His legs are wrapped in metal braces that catch the light from the crystal chandeliers. His hands shake, not from his condition, but from something deeper. Fear. Shame. The weight of being different in a world that demands perfection. Next to him sits his father, William Williams, billionaire, owner of Williams Capital Management, one of the richest men in America, and right now, one of the most miserable. You see, this is the first time William has brought Mason to dinner in public since the accident. 2 years ago, a car crash stole his son's ability to walk normally. But that's not what William is really afraid of. He's afraid of the stares, the whispers, the pity. He's already decided this will be their last public dinner together. Some prisons are made of gold, and William has built one for both himself and his son. Now, let me tell you about Sarah Thompson. She's been working at Riverside for 5 years, and she's mastered something most of us never learn: how to become invisible. She moves between tables like a ghost, serving the wealthy, the powerful, the untouchable. She's the restaurant's only black waitress, and she knows exactly how to keep her head down and her mouth shut. But here's what nobody knows about Sarah: she carries secrets. In her tiny apartment in the Bronx, hidden under her bed, is a notebook filled with observations, research, plans. Because Sarah Thompson isn't just a waitress. She's a woman on a mission. The live piano begins to play, a gentle melody that fills the restaurant like perfume. And that's when it happens. Mason hears the music, and something stirs inside him. Something his father has spent 2 years trying to kill: hope, joy, the simple desire to move, to dance, to feel alive. His hand begins to shake. Not from fear this time, but from wanting. And slowly, so slowly, he turns in his chair. The restaurant holds maybe 60 people. Senators, celebrities, titans of industry. But Mason's eyes find the one person who has been kind to him tonight. Sarah, who smiled when she brought his juice. Sarah, who didn't stare at his braces like they were some kind of tragedy. Mason extends his trembling hand toward her. The silence that falls is deafening. Conversations don't just pause, they die. Silverware freezes in mid-air. 60 pairs of eyes turn toward table 12 like spotlights. Can you feel it? That moment when the entire world holds its breath? Manager Peterson's voice cuts through the silence like a knife. Sir, please control your son. This behavior is completely inappropriate. This is not a dance hall, and our staff members are not here to provide entertainment for children. William's face burns with embarrassment. The same embarrassment that has kept him hiding his son away for 2 years. Mason, sit down immediately, he commands, his voice low but firm. And there stands Sarah Thompson, caught between worlds. She looks at the manager, who represents her paycheck, her survival. She looks at William Williams, who could destroy her career with a single word. And she looks at Mason, whose hand is still extended, still hoping. What would you do? Sarah removes her apron and places it calmly on her serving tray. Mr. Peterson, I'm leaving. My shift has ended. And then, and this is the moment that changes everything, she smiles at Mason and takes his hand. I can't dance properly while wearing an apron. William shoots to his feet. What exactly do you think you're doing? Sarah meets his stare without flinching. I'm accepting a kind invitation, sir. The first step Mason takes sounds like thunder. His foot drags across the polished floor, and the metal of his braces creates this harsh scraping sound that echoes through the restaurant like nails on a chalkboard. Everyone winces. But Sarah doesn't try to guide him. She doesn't try to fix him or help him or make it easier. She simply adjusts her own pace to match his. "She's definitely getting fired tomorrow," whispers a woman at table 8. But something magical is happening. As Sarah follows Mason's clumsy, uncertain steps, the boy's eyes change. The fear that has lived there for 2 years starts to melt away. The shame transforms into something else: concentration, pride, purpose. For the first time since his accident, Mason isn't being guided or helped or corrected. He's leading. William watches, and suddenly he's not in the restaurant anymore. He's in his living room 3 years ago, watching his wife Elizabeth dance with Mason. He can hear her voice as clearly as if she's standing next to him. It's never about achieving perfection, William. It's about making a genuine connection. Elizabeth, the woman who taught him how to love. The woman who died 6 months after Mason's accident, leaving William alone with a broken son and no idea how to put the pieces back together. Manager Peterson interrupts his thoughts. "Mr. Williams, I can absolutely assure you that this incident will never happen again. She will be properly disciplined for this unprofessional behavior." The entire restaurant waits for William's reaction. Staff members have stopped working. Other diners watch with morbid curiosity. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. But all William hears is his son's laughter. Genuine, joyful laughter that he hasn't heard in 2 years. 3 steps. That's all they take together. 3 clumsy, imperfect, beautiful steps. And then Sarah guides Mason back to his table. "Thank you for asking me to dance," she says formally, addressing him like the gentleman he is. "It was truly an honor." As Sarah turns to leave, William finds his voice. "Wait!" The word comes out different than he intended, vulnerable, almost unrecognizable. "What's your full name?" "Sarah Thompson, sir." He repeats it slowly, like he's memorizing it. "Sarah Thompson." Then he reaches into his jacket and pulls out a business card. "My office. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. The restaurant holds its breath again. Sarah takes the card, and though her face remains calm, her hand trembles slightly. "Dad," Mason calls as she walks away. "Why did you do that?" The question hangs in the air like an accusation. And for the first time in 2 years, William really looks at his son. Not as a burden or a broken thing to be fixed, but as a complete human being whose needs and desires he has systematically ignored. What Mason doesn't know, what William doesn't know, is that Sarah Thompson has been waiting for this moment. In her apartment that night, she sits on her bed and pulls out that notebook. Page after page of observations about children like Mason, men like William Williams. Years of research, years of planning. Because Sarah Thompson isn't just a waitress who agreed to dance with a disabled boy. She's a woman with a mission that started long before she ever set foot in Riverside Restaurant. William Williams thinks he's summoning an employee to his office. He has no idea he's walking into a trap set by someone far more intelligent, far more determined, and far more dangerous than he could ever imagine. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., his world is going to change forever. But first, he has to get through tonight. He has to sit across from his son and pretend he knows what he's doing. He has to ignore the way Mason keeps smiling, keeps glancing toward the door where Sarah disappeared. He has to pretend that 3 dance steps haven't just shattered the careful walls he's built around their lives. Some revolutions start with armies and weapons. Others start with a waitress who refuses to let a child's hope die. And sometimes, the most powerful people in the world are completely powerless against the simple act of human kindness. What William Williams doesn't know yet is that he's about to learn the hardest lesson of his life. That money can buy almost anything, except the one thing his son needs most: the ability to lead his own dance. The next morning, Sarah Thompson stands in the lobby of Williams Tower, and she might as well be on another planet. Everything around her screams money. Glass walls stretch toward the ceiling like crystal prayers. Marble floors reflect the morning sunlight in patterns that probably cost more than most people's houses. And the people walking past her? Their shoes alone could pay Sarah's rent for months. Sarah looks down at her navy blue skirt and white blouse, her best outfit, bought on sale at a discount store. She clutches her worn leather purse like it's a lifeline. But here's the thing about Sarah Thompson that nobody in this gleaming tower understands. She's not intimidated. She's prepared. "Sarah Thompson to see Mr. Williams," she tells the receptionist, who looks at her like she's a puzzle that doesn't belong. 22nd floor. Ms. Rodriguez will escort you. In that elevator, rising through the heart of William Williams' empire, Sarah takes a deep breath. What she feels isn't fear. It's the quiet determination of someone who has faced much worse than a billionaire's judgment. Ms. Rodriguez is everything you'd expect from a corporate executive. Sharp suit, sharper attitude, the kind of person who has forgotten what it's like to worry about grocery money. As they walk through mirrored hallways, Sarah feels the stares. A black woman being personally escorted through the executive offices is rare enough to generate whispers. He had you fired, didn't he? Rodriguez asks suddenly when they are alone. It happens all the time. Powerful clients call with complaints, and people like you lose their jobs. People like me. Sarah asks calmly. You know exactly what I mean. Employees who don't understand their proper place. Sarah smiles, but not with amusement. And where exactly would that place be? Before Rodriguez can answer, her phone rings. He'll see you now. William Williams' office doesn't just occupy space, it commands it. Half the floor belongs to him, with windows that make Chicago look like a toy city spread out for his entertainment. William stands with his back to her, staring out at his kingdom. Ms. Thompson, thank you for coming. The silence that follows is calculated. It's the kind of silence designed to make people nervous, to make them talk too much and reveal too much. But Sarah recognizes the tactic immediately. She's been preparing for this moment longer than William Williams could ever imagine. Do you have a background? He finally asks. Excuse me. Education. College degree. Sarah keeps her voice steady. Bachelor's degree in child development from Northwestern University. Incomplete master's degree in special education. Something flashes across William's face, surprise, maybe even shock. And yet you work as a waitress. I work 3 jobs, actually. The restaurant, a bookstore on weekends, and private tutoring when I can find students. William moves to his desk and picks up a thick folder. I conducted some research on you, Ms. Thompson. I wanted to understand exactly who the person was who danced with my son. He opens the folder, and there they are, photographs of a modest community center. New Horizons. You founded this organization 6 years ago. Sarah sits up straighter. I co-founded it with my sister Maya. It's a specialized dance program for children with physical disabilities. William leafs through documents, which is apparently about to close due to inadequate funding. Of course he found all this out. Men like William Williams don't make moves without gathering intelligence first. I didn't come here to ask you for money, Mr. Williams. Then why did you come? Because you invited me. William laughs, a sound completely empty of joy. Fair enough. He stands again, restless energy radiating from him. I want you to work for me. Sarah blinks, genuinely surprised. As a domestic worker. William's face hardens. As a therapeutic companion for Mason. Even saying his son's name seems to cause him physical pain. Sarah notices how his eyes drift to a framed photograph on his desk. A smiling woman holding a baby. I have access to the best specialists in the country, William continues. Physical therapists, neurologists, child psychologists. But what you did yesterday? He pauses, like the words are betraying him. It was just a simple dance, Mr. Williams. It was the first time I've seen him genuinely smile since the accident. The admission clearly hurts. I don't want someone to dance with my son. I want someone who can do what you did, follow his lead instead of trying to control him. Sarah studies the man before her. Beneath all that power and control, she sees something others might miss, a desperate, completely lost father. I can pay you 5 times what you're currently making. Sarah stands up. No. William looks genuinely shocked, like someone who has never heard that word before. I don't work for people who see only my race or social class before they recognize my competence, she explains calmly. And I definitely don't work for people who try to purchase solutions to complex emotional problems. William's face flushes red. You're turning down an offer that would solve all your financial problems? Out of pure pride. Out of dignity, Sarah corrects. And because your son deserves much more than someone who's been hired to pretend to care about him. She walks toward the door, then pauses. Mason doesn't need more experts, Mr. Williams. He needs space to lead his own life. You don't know my son. No, Sarah agrees. But I know people like him. People whose physical limitations are nothing compared to the invisible emotional cages we build around them. She takes a business card from her purse and places it on his desk. New Horizons. Classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. If you'd like to bring Mason, the first session is completely free. As Sarah leaves, she passes Rodriguez, who has obviously been listening behind the door. You just turned down a job offer from William Williams, she whispers incredulously. Are you completely insane? Sarah smiles genuinely for the first time that day. Maybe, but I'd rather be crazy than be someone's property. Wednesday comes, and Sarah is at the reception desk of New Horizons when Maya comes rushing over. There's a Bentley parked outside, she whispers, nervously adjusting her headscarf. And you won't believe who's inside. Through the window, Sarah sees the luxurious car. Mason sits in the back seat, looking anxiously through the tinted glass. William remains in the driver's seat, hands gripping the steering wheel like he's fighting an internal war. He's not coming inside, Maya predicts. Men like him don't enter places like this. Sarah smiles, remembering Mason's expression during their dance. Don't underestimate the power of a determined child. As they watch, the car door opens. Mason emerges slowly, carefully adjusting his braces. Then, to everyone's surprise, William gets out too. He looks completely out of place in his casual khakis and sweater, an obvious attempt to dress down that still screams privilege. I told you he'd come, Sarah murmurs. Maya stares at her sister. What exactly did you do? Sarah doesn't answer, but her eyes sparkle with knowledge that not even Maya fully understands. Hidden in her apartment is that notebook, years of observations about children like Mason and men like William Williams. Years of research. Years of planning. What William Williams doesn't know is that Sarah Thompson isn't just a waitress who agreed to dance with his son. She's a woman with a mission. And his empire of isolation and privilege is about to face its greatest challenge. New Horizons operates out of a converted warehouse in a working-class neighborhood. Handmade posters decorate the walls. Your rhythm, your rules, and every move counts. When William and Mason enter, children with various mobility aids practice freeform movements to upbeat music. A girl in a wheelchair spins in graceful circles. A boy with a prosthetic leg creates his own unique sequence of steps. This looks completely chaotic, William comments, visibly uncomfortable. There is structure, Sarah replies. It's just not the type you're accustomed to recognizing. She turns to Mason. Would you like to join the group? The boy nods enthusiastically but looks to his father hesitantly. Go ahead, William says tensely. I'll be right here. As Sarah guides Mason toward the group, Maya offers William a folding chair. The first day is always the most difficult. For the parents, not the children. This isn't legitimate therapy, William argues. I've hired the absolute best rehabilitation specialists money can buy. And how has that approach been working for Mason? Maya asks gently. That's when the studio door opens, and an elegant older woman enters, leaning on an ornately carved cane. Silver-gray hair arranged in sophisticated braids, carrying herself with unmistakable authority. Dr. Patricia Johnson, Maya whispers to William. Neuroscientist specializing in brain plasticity. Recently retired from Harvard Medical School. The woman greets several children warmly before noticing William. Mr. Williams, you've rejected my research funding proposals 3 times over the past 2 years. Dr. Johnson, I didn't expect to encounter you here. I oversee the research component of this program. We're conducting groundbreaking studies on how non-directive movement approaches affect neural reconfiguration in children with motor challenges. Research. William frowns. I assumed this was simply a community dance class. Sarah returns, having left Mason exploring movements with another child. New Horizons is actually a pilot motor rehabilitation program based on the revolutionary theory of movement autonomy. We integrate adaptive dance techniques with cutting-edge neuroscientific principles. The pieces start clicking together in William's mind. Why do you work as a waitress if you're leading a research program? Because we don't have adequate funding yet. And because people like you have rejected our proposals 3 times without serious consideration. The realization hits William like a physical blow. You were Dr. Johnson's research assistant on those proposals. Co-author, Dr. Johnson corrects firmly. Sarah has an incomplete master's degree only because she had to leave graduate school to care for her younger sister. But her theoretical work is absolutely groundbreaking. You knew exactly who I was at the restaurant, William concludes. From the moment you walked through the door, Sarah confirms. And when Mason stood up to dance, I recognized the perfect opportunity to demonstrate rather than simply explain our methodology. Was it staged? The dance? Absolutely not, Sarah says firmly. Mason chose to stand up entirely on his own. I simply chose to follow his lead. That's when reporters suddenly enter the studio, and William immediately tenses. What is this? Phase 2 of our plan. Sarah smiles slightly. Maya hands William a freshly printed newspaper article. Revolutionary motor rehabilitation methodology shows extraordinary promise. We published our preliminary research results today, Dr. Johnson explains. And we invited media coverage. You used my son for a publicity stunt. William's voice turns to ice. Sarah leads him into a side room where photographs of dozens of children cover the walls, each with handwritten progress statistics. On the final wall hangs an empty frame. What's that? William asks. Our future, Sarah replies. The comprehensive rehabilitation center we could build if we had adequate resources. We could help 500 children annually instead of just 50. You orchestrated all of this, William says slowly. The dance, our meeting, bringing me here on press day. I recognized an opportunity and took decisive action, Sarah admits. 4 months ago, when you cancelled our scheduled meeting without reading our research proposal, I promised myself I would find another way to reach you. Sarah! Maya interrupts urgently. It's Mason. They rush back to find Mason in the center of the room, surrounded by other children and reporters. Someone has turned off the music, and everyone watches in complete silence. The boy has removed one of his leg braces and is attempting to balance using only minimal support. Mason, William starts forward, but Sarah gently stops him. Wait, she whispers. Just watch. Mason takes a deep, concentrated breath. Then, to everyone's amazement, especially his father's, he takes one complete, independent step without full mechanical support. It's small and shaky, but it's entirely his own achievement. The children erupt in cheers. Camera flashes illuminate the moment. William's face, usually composed and unreadable, is now completely exposed, with unshed tears glistening in his eyes. That's exactly why we created New Horizons, Sarah says softly. It's never about achieving perfect steps. It's about taking first steps on your own terms. William watches his son, not as a problem to be managed, but as a complete person discovering his own strength. This could have been accomplished without manipulating me, he says finally. It could have been, if you had returned our calls or seriously considered our research proposals. 3 times, Mr. Williams. The reporters notice William's presence. A growing murmur spreads through the room as Mason, oblivious to the tension, continues practicing his newfound step with pure concentration. William Williams finds himself completely cornered. 2 paths lay before him: withdraw in anger, confirming his reputation as cold and calculating, or embrace the extraordinary moment his son has created. Between the absolute power he has always wielded and the authentic freedom his son needs, William finds himself in unfamiliar territory, a place where neither wealth nor influence can determine the next step. The man who controls every aspect of his life now faces a choice that no amount of money can purchase. His gaze moves between his genuinely smiling son and the expectant reporters. Humility has never been in his vocabulary. But as he witnesses the transformation in Mason's face, from fear to confidence, from dependence to independence, something deep inside him breaks apart. Mr. Williams, a reporter approaches, could you comment on your presence at New Horizons today? Is it true that the Williams Foundation rejected funding for this program 3 times? William glances at Mason, who continues practicing his step, completely absorbed in his own achievement. Then, to everyone's surprise, especially Sarah's, he smiles genuinely. You know what's most difficult for someone in my position? William addresses the reporter but speaks loudly enough for everyone to hear. Admitting when we've made serious mistakes. A stunned silence fills the converted warehouse. The Williams Foundation is pleased to announce our commitment to fully fund New Horizons for the next 5 years, and to construct a permanent, state-of-the-art rehabilitation center based on the innovative methodology developed by Dr. Johnson and Ms. Thompson. Camera flashes explode. Maya lets out a cry of joy. On one condition, William adds, watching Sarah's body tense, that Ms. Thompson retains complete autonomy over the program's development and implementation. No corporate interference whatsoever. 3 months later, construction crews break ground for the new center. Sarah supervises regularly, but she's never alone. Mason appears frequently, sometimes bringing other children. And William shows up consistently, quietly observing the progress. "I never thought you'd actually attend our board meetings," Sarah comments one afternoon. "I never thought I'd be studying neuroplasticity at age 50, William replies, rubbing tired eyes. Before him lies a scientific journal covered with colorful post-it notes. "But here we are. Is this part of your public penance, or do you genuinely care?" Mason asked to have his second brace removed last week. "I know. He told me. His previous therapist said that would be impossible for at least 2 years. Sarah smiles. "But you dismissed her, remember? Because you convinced me she was wrong. And she was." At the grand opening 6 months later, the contrast with that evening at Riverside couldn't be more dramatic. The spacious facility fills with children with various mobility aids, all moving freely and confidently. In the center of the main hall, Mason, now wearing only a lightweight brace on his left leg, leads a choreographed routine with 3 other children. His movements remain somewhat limited, but they flow with self-assurance no doctor had predicted. William watches from a distance, no longer trying to control every moment. "He doesn't need you to support him anymore," Sarah says, approaching quietly. "No," William agrees. "But he still needs me to be present and available. That's a crucial difference." A reporter approaches them. "Mr. Williams, how does it feel to witness your son's remarkable progress?" William looks at Mason, who is now helping a younger girl find her balance. "Proud, not of what is overcome, but of what is created for others through his example." "And what's been the most important lesson you've learned?" William Williams, the man once known exclusively for his financial empire, looks directly into the camera with complete sincerity. That true leaders aren't those who guide others down the path they believe is correct, but those who have the courage and wisdom to follow when someone else shows them a better way forward. A year later, the New Horizons methodology has expanded to 3 additional cities. Sarah receives the National Pediatric Rehabilitation Innovation Award. Her approach begins implementation in hospitals across the country. Mason, now using only a lightweight cane on challenging days, enrolls in regular public school and becomes a passionate youth spokesperson for the program, inspiring countless other children to find their own unique pace. And William Williams learns the most difficult and valuable lesson of his life: that genuine power doesn't lie in controlling every movement, but in knowing precisely when to step back and allow others to lead. In a world where powerful people rarely change their perspectives, and where those without traditional power often remain invisible, this story reminds us that authentic transformation occurs when we find courage to cross the invisible boundaries that separate us. When a billionaire learns from a waitress. When a father learns to follow his son's footsteps. When a simple gesture of dignity creates ripples that change lives forever. Sometimes the smallest acts create the biggest revolutions. Sometimes 3 dance steps can change the world. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply say yes when someone asks you to dance.